coming in at the top of this hour. Indian origin lawyer who challenged the Trump tariffs in the Supreme Court has now slammed US President Trump's fresh 15% additional tariffs that he has announced. Neal Katyal, the Indian origin lawyer who challenged Trump's tariffs in the Supreme Court, has said that Trump must now go to the US Congress if he wants tariffs. Katyal says that Trump should do the right thing, the American thing, and go to the US Congress if he wants to impose fresh tariffs. Katyal says that if tariffs are right, why not go to the US Congress? This is what the US Constitution requires. This is the latest that we're getting in the tariff twist that we're seeing over the past couple of days after the US Supreme Court ruled that Trump's reciprocal tariffs are now illegal, and after which the US President imposed fresh 10% and now 15% tariffs on global nations. Now, joining us on this broadcast is a very important and key voice from DC, Neal Somin, law professor from George Mason University, who was representing the small businesses and was part of the legal team along with Neal Katyal, who helped essentially took on the Trump tariffs in the Supreme Court. Neal, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. My first question to you is, Trump has made it clear that despite the US Supreme Court hearing, he will continue to impose tariffs on nations, now even hiking it to 15%. However, there is some contention regarding the laws that he plans to use to impose these tariffs, including Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act. Can he actually legally use this section to impose these fresh 15% tariffs? Help us decode this.
Yeah, I think not, because that law only allows imposition of tariffs in situations where there's an international balance of payment problem, a very serious one, that creates a balance of payment deficit in the United States, and that simply does not exist right now. It just isn't there. And indeed, when they were arguing our case in the Supreme Court, his own lawyers said that Section 122 is not relevant to the kind of situation that exists now. So this set of tariffs, I think, is just as illegal as the ones that were just struck down by the Supreme Court, and I expect there are going to be legal challenges to them, and hopefully the courts will rule against them.
Right, Neal. Definitely some challenges that US President Trump is going to face in the courts as well as the US Congress. But there's another key question that many, including us in India, have, is that will the US government now have to refund the tariff revenues that were collected after the Supreme Court ruling? Because the Supreme Court has said it, that these tariffs were illegal. But the US government over the past 18 months or so has collected almost $175 billion in tariffs. So will the US government now have to refund this?
So I think when the U.S. government illegally takes people's money, they have a legal obligation to pay it back. However, the process for doing so might turn out to be prolonged and complicated. I wish it would go faster, but I'm not sure how long it will take.
Right. And Neal, you along with Neal represented small businesses in the Supreme Court against Trump's tariffs. Talk to us about how these small businesses are now feeling after the ruling, because I'm sure it must have been a relief. But at the same time, US President Trump has now issued fresh tariff threats, announcements, saying that the 15% tariffs are going to remain. How do they see this?
So I think small businesses around the United States and also ordinary consumers and others have been suffering greatly because of these tariffs. They want to see the end of them. They recognize that Trump is wrong to try to impose new tariffs. They harm us and our economy, and they poison our relations with other nations, including India. Most Americans do not want to trade war with India. We want to trade with you freely and peacefully. We don't want to see high prices here, and we don't want to see our trading partners hurt either.
Absolutely. Neal Somin, law professor, George Mason University, and co-counsel in the Trump tariff challenge. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and giving us those very key insights. We at New Delhi are going to keep a close eye on what happens next in this US tariff twist.